Hello, my sons. I was just reminiscing about college real quick, being thousands of dollars into debt just to see how malleable I was for the workforce. And honestly, thankfully, I succeeded. So my career aspirations have been pretty obvious since childbirth. They go as followed. Boy, I can't wait to make prosthetics for people who don't have arms and legs. I've gone through 9 eye surgeries just to look like everyone else. But hey, if someone's missing an arm or a leg, you know what? At least I could replace that. Technology wasn't there yet. Boy, I can't wait to work for Nintendo. Found out it's nearly impossible to get in. Boy, I can't wait to work for a AAA studio like Xbox or maybe even PlayStation. I was told they don't give 9 to 5s. So stability is impossible. But you can go work for an indie company. Boy, I can't wait to work for an indie company of all things. Making new games that are outside the norm, that's awesome. You basically work for free. You can't do anything outside of that. It's not good. Boy, I can't wait to work at this company, teach special needs kids about game design, and marry the girl that I've been waiting all my life for. Yeah, we broke up. I live on Section 8. Fixed income, shit hours at a company that doesn't appreciate me anymore. Life is weird. Boy, I can't wait to have another dream crush. That happens every like 4 to 5 years, give or take. So I get a dream crushed about as often as we get a new president here in the United States. College really doesn't prepare you, at least in my experience, for anything outside in the games industry. I went for 3D animation and game design, spending my entire life wanting to be in the game industry. And seeing as I was, poor, you'd think I'd get some kind of grant for Full Sail University, which is like the top one in the United States. Well, what had happened there was basically they told me I needed and in all honesty, I just didn't have it in me to work 40 hours a week, go to school, for 40 hours a week on top of actually working, find an apartment, maintain that apartment. And, it was one of those things I just didn't... I'm sorry, it just didn't make sense to me. Maybe things have changed since then, but their marketing team did not sell me on going to school and basically, I can't even explain it. It was like slaving away. I mean, dang. So I decided to go local, in my home state of... Oh, man, really? Yeah, there's basically a reason that this was almost a turn state, this election. But this state, the education here, the money does not go to education here in this state. It is the worst. I can't even, this is my story. All of this is my story, right? It's terrible. Just roll this. So I've gone to summer camps. I've even, picked up a bit of college credits while doing these programs just because of basically what they were geared towards. But my real education didn't actually come until community college when I got my associate in the arts, which basically, for those of you who don't know, it's just a gen ed. I'm sorry, there's really nothing here of substance. It's basically like a whole high school diploma for anyone going to college. Credit where credit is due. Professor actually challenged me to do things outside of class that interest me in every sense of the word when it came to creativity. So not only did I make a character for time, but also challenged me to change things from tries, which is where the knuckles were at the time, to quads. Now in the games industry, you actually genuinely want to make things into quads first and then transition them to tries based on texturing and modeling. And this also looks well for animation and rigging once I had gotten to that point. This was for a scrapped character that I hope I can eventually return to in life, but if not, it was a really good experience overall in school that, honestly, I don't actually get to talk too much about because everything else was pretty much horrible from this point forward. The only other good experience I had in college, I would say, is probably this one, where I put 2 characters in a swash and stretch animation on a King Kai planet, which is just one sphere rotating around, giving the illusion of walking while having a background and trees planted everywhere, rotating around. I was supposed to animate everything, but my professor was so confused on how I was able to fake it. Just like we faked the moon landing during the Cold War. It's all downhill from here, isn't it? There was a group project last where I wanted to do a Super Smash Bros. Type
thing with another student. Basically, I would make the characters, he would make the detail-oriented Final Destination stage. No, not that one. Or that one. That one wasn't even out yet. You're getting warmer. Yeah, that one. Yep, I whittled them down to the low-poly Smash game of Nintendo 64's greatest hit, Super Smash Bros. And for whatever reason, he couldn't make Master Hand, let alone the stage. Without a doubt, he was completely useless. So much so that I came up with this jail room concept for all the crime these characters committed. Mario for being everything PETA hates, Sonic for Sonic 06, Mega Man for defying the laws of robotics, and Pac-Man for not letting the dead rest. Thankfully, the professor let me ditch his sorry butt and knew my own project, being that I was too arrogant to fail, and also the fact that he did absolutely nothing and showed it. Now, the next class, on the other hand, was a computer science class. We worked in a program called Flogorithm. I passed the class, but,
And I still can't code.
Look, I didn't grasp the concept of coding, but at least I tried. The last coding class I had in this community college was Comp 142, I think, using, what the heck is this thing? Alice is a terrible program that is so outdated by today's standards in every sense of the word. I spent 4 hours trying to recall what this program was even called. But the worst problem was the normal college bullcrap.
So this is the part where I tell you what happened, right? So the last homework assignment we had was counted towards the final for 20% of our final grade. Now there was a student I was sitting next to, and, you know, he was cool and everything, and I didn't have any issues with it. So he was like, hey, can you help me out with the homework? I was like, sure. Why? Like, you know, I didn't think it was a problem to help him out. I didn't give him all the answers. I did about like half of the homework, I would say, and then I sent it to him. However, apparently, that was a big no-no from the professor, and he was like, he pulled me aside, he's like, did you help this kid? And I was like, yeah, I gave him like up to X, Y, and Z. He's like, you can't do that. And I was like, I didn't give him the full thing. I gave him a springboard. Like, you know, like, it was code, it's just, even, whatever. He had to figure out the rest on himself. He submitted that as the final part of the homework. Not only did he submit that as the homework, but he submitted that on the test. So now, I lost points. I went from a A- to a C- in a span of just seconds because that was the final homework and I got 0 on it, and then I got 0 on it on the text instead of being indicted for cheating, even though I'm the one who produced all the work and I just gave him part of the assignment. That's the normal college bullcrap. I was so mad. One, that this kid outed me out, and he was just like, yeah, it was him. And I'm like, dude, are you kidding me? Every C I've ever gotten was either from terrible professors, which we'll get into in a second, or stupid group projects. Like, I could even, there were those with Japanese, but that was because that was one of the hardest classes I've ever taken, and I was like, yeah, Japanese language, hardest thing to do. But you know what? That's on me, because it's a hard class. What am I going to do? But this was just bullcrap. This was just the normal college bullcrap. And I genuinely hate it. He deserves apple juice with his cereal.
I had some other Photoshop classes, but it's not like it was anything crazy. Here's the thing. Maya and Autodesk, or even Adobe Suites, are not something you get right out of college, having to pay for them for a subscription fee or something along those lines because companies like really big tax write-offs. So I went straight out of college going,
oh yeah, I'm poor now. Awesome.
Yeah, no self-respecting artist is going to buy these straight out of college when they've already bought the world's most expensive piece of paper. And the worst part is, it's just my bachelor's degree. This genuinely had no effect towards transferring credits, really, into my years later on in college. I hate to say it, the only thing that actually mattered was the fact that I had a degree, not the classes I took, which only should have been more of a red flag, as some of the classes I took really didn't go to 3D animation and game design. I took Japanese for, get this, 3 semesters, and it was one of the hardest, yet most rewarding experiences I had ever had that wasn't tailored towards my degree. Remember, I'm an art major at this point, so it really doesn't make any sense. So, since I wanted to go work for my bachelor's degree, focusing more on the courses that would pertain to me wanting to be in the games industry, what was my first project?
You really expect me to be proud of this?
Enter Roll20, every D&D campaign's favorite place. However, there's an issue. The pandemic hit at the time, and we were still half home, half not at home, so this one professor decided to just say, screw it, and I want the whole thing to be at home. And that was totally fine, but This was supposed to be a paid college experience, and to be honest, I didn't feel like I got anything out of this. If anything, I left more confused than getting answers. Not that I don't respect board games, on the other hand, it's just the fact that, well, we were using something that wasn't really an industry kind of thing. It just felt a little bland, boring, and in all honesty, not worth it. He tried his best, but he was too old to understand how to use this. After we eventually figured that out, the first game I made was, get this, Eels and Escalators. That's right, before the official one came out, I actually made an Eels and Escalators game, which was interesting at the time. But then I also found a idea that I was kind of curious on how to make, and eventually I did. It was a grow your own flower experience where you pick up random cards and do something. I really don't remember. It was so long ago, and to be honest, I really don't remember the rules. I didn't even write them down. That's how bad this class was. We made 2 games and that was it.
Hello, my sons. So, today, our little flower topic kind of gave a great transition into dandelions. Now, dandelion root, dandelion leaves, and dandelion flowers and stems are all actually edible. But the way I actually usually do it is in a tea. Now, sometimes I'll mix like berries in it, sometimes I'll put honey in it, just to give it a little sweeter taste, as it is a bit bitter, but it is very good for your heart health. There's tons of vitamins in it, and look, even if you're not a tea person, I really would suggest even like dandelion salad. Like, you throw in a few dandelions in your salad, you'll be fine. Again, you'll get a lot of nutrition from dandelions, and, you know, medically speaking, if you have heart problems, I'm not a doctor, but personally speaking, I would recommend drinking some dandelion tea as well, with whatever your doctor prescribes, of course, because, you know, I'm not a doctor, but I'd like to be, but I don't have the funds for that, so I just decide to use the internet and actually read, which, considering the contents of this video, seems like a better choice. Anyway, let's make some dandelion tea. I made a mess on my counter. That means you have to subscribe and follow me on whatever platform you deem necessary. But yeah, we're gonna let this go on a low burner or high burner, whatever you want to call it, and then we'll be right back. Okay, so we got the dandelion tea. It's nice and hot. And yeah, I don't know. I mean, I actually drink this, so it's like, I don't know. I'm not like other people where it's like, oh, I just put the product here and I don't like eat it or something. Sorry, I gotta like pour this out so that like, there we go. I don't know. But yeah, no, I think it's, I'm gonna be honest, I genuinely like the fact that, you know, we can, like, forage if we want to. You know, there's, like, a decent amount of foraging books where you can make your own herbal tea at home. And, you know, these things do help you. It's hot. Oh, but that does taste nice. And I really gotta start mixing berries and stuff, because I had, like, raspberry and elderberry in this. And I don't normally get elderberry, but it's bitter, but, like, it's got that hint of sweetness from the raspberry, which I really like.
Good.
Okay, cool.
So, I had other classes. There was one teacher who was the bane of my existence, and I'm not afraid to say her name out loud.
Listen up. Heed my words. Listen to this name right out my mouth. Now get in closer.
Loud. This teacher was the worst part of my college experience. So far that I can't even think of any other. Well, maybe there was this one English teacher, but that's beside the point. Basically, she was the bane of my existence the entire time, as she taught most of the classes. This following segment is literally all of her classes combined into one lump sum. First, we got character design class. Her character design class was not worth the 0.5 credits for the college course class. For those of you who don't know, basically each college class should be 1 credit, or in some colleges it's 4 credits to be, you know, a full-time kind of class. So this was a kind of part-time class to make sure you had enough work, maybe to do some extra classes on the side, something, you know, simple, right? So I wasn't technically a full-time student doing this class this semester with a few of our other classes, which I was pretty pissed about, so eventually I found a goddamn gym class. IRL clip of me saying, "You've got to be kidding me." Yeah, me, having to go to a gym class. I was already powerlifting at this time, and I basically had wasted gas the entire semester just going for one stupid class, which was the stupid gym class. See, the problem is, that's not even the worst part. I tracked the amount of time that this class took me, and even my classmates backed me up on this. this was a full workload, as we made full character Bibles, art, and the works, basically. For those of you who don't know, a character Bible basically just says what the character is, who they are, side views, front views, quarter turn views, so on and so forth. I don't even want to show them because I rushed them and they felt so terrible. Basically, oh gosh, alright, next up, Intro to Animation was a class solely dedicated to the principles of animation. The problem is, for me, taxpayers actually paid for this. That's right. My mom, even though she forced me to go to college in a generation where basically YouTube University is a way better way to go, but basically, they paid for this. I was too poor and I got a few grants, and on top of that, it just didn't really go to any kind of education that I genuinely cared about. No joke. By the time this goes up, I'm gonna be honest, I still haven't made back any kind of money to pay my tuition back. And especially not in the games industry. And this teacher was generally crazy overall. In 2023, towards the tail end where everyone was stopping to wear masks, she was a mask-crazed moron. No joke. The school lifted the mask mandate, and she was still paranoid, where she wanted all of us to still kind of wear masks, and she heavily implied that she wanted it, but I was like, no, I'm good, thank you. That small gripe aside, though, basically, this was a level 200 class. And again, this is a basic gen ed kind of class when it comes to animation. This is one of the first things you learn when doing animation, and this was a level 200 class. I was kind of insulted at this point. I had already learned basically the 12 principles of animation.
Oh, we haven't even gotten to the end with a big rant yet. Trust me, there's gonna be a big rant, and I am so sorry. But I need to get this off my chest. And again, I apologize to anyone who helped pay for my tuition via taxpayer money. It didn't go to anything of value. I live off the government. I'm sorry. Like, I feel bad. I can't work. I can't find work in my field, and I feel terrible. So please, like, comment, subscribe. Thank you so much.
The next two classes with her that really stuck out for me were the main reasons why I hated college, not just the games industry. The pre-capstone and capstone classes. Pre-capstone basically says, what is your concept, what are you doing, and how are you doing it? Now, I was able to combine my game design portion of the degree with the animation degree. And basically, originally, they were going to count the animations in the game as part of the animation, which was great. I didn't need to do cutscenes. Later to be told, I needed cutscenes. Now, the difference between the game design instructor and the animation instructor is quite simple, actually.
Everyone actually likes the game design instructor.
Even though these projects coincided with one another, basically trying to figure out a theme was the kind of point, but in all honesty, it kind of seemed irrelevant, as I felt like I was doing work more for her than I was for myself. This was supposed to be my project, my gift to society, basically saying, here I am, this is what I can do. And it felt more like a slap in the face, having to tailor it to someone who just didn't feel kind of there, in a sense, both mentally and physically. I don't even think she wanted to be there. Who knows, maybe she was struggling to get in the games industry too, and then she just ended up teaching. You know what they say?
Those who can't do, teach.
But why wouldn't I want to make the same capstone project for both, showing that, hey, my degree was kind of worth doing this kind of thing? The only difference is, oh my gosh, it was so much. My coworkers helped me out here with this because this was supposed to be a group project thing where more than one person did it, and my coworkers from my internship, which I would not have gotten if it were not for dumb luck, thank you very much, basically helped with the entire process. Basically, I did the storyboarding, I did the animatic story, I did the models, I had a little bit of help with the texturing, a little bit of help with the animation, all of the code, I kid you not, I did not do because I can't code for the life of me, but etc. You know, again, done by 3 people over the course of, like, what, less than a year, give or take, was honestly amazing.
So, I found out what crunch time was at this point.
Yeah, the reason why the industry is failing game developers is basically this little thing called crunch time. And the best example I can think of actually is from the music director from Doom, 2016. Mick Gordon honestly did such a wonderful job with Doom and Doom Eternal. Look, it's a pretty interesting story. Basically, it's what I realized that, you know, this might not be a great industry to work for.
We're at that 4-year mark, aren't we?
Brief little tangent. Basically, American game developers are contract workers, right? Not getting a simple 9 to 5 and any kind of stability. Same goes for an indie team, which basically means they do everything for free and hoping they get a profit out of it, then splitting the proceeds to whoever else afterwards. I have a lot of respect for indie developer teams, and I also have a lot of respect for people who do contract work, because it is very vigorous, just as much as I have respect for people who build to pave the roads and the buildings and all that other happy crap. Point in case, it's hard work, and I just cannot do it. Like, I could do physical labor. I can't do this. It's too much crunch, it's too much stress, and I swear to God, I was getting a hunch doing this. Don't get me wrong, I love the games industry, I love video games and all that other stuff, but it left me with one big question.
Why is there no food in here?
So, besides the most unstable working conditions, unlike Japan where they actually pay you a salary to work for the company, all my life I wanted to be in the games industry, and this genuine point really kind of drove home that everything I've known and loved was kind of dead. Or, at the least, the stress wasn't for me, seeing as in one of my capstone classes, or group game project class, I can't remember which, we had a guest speaker. Look, for all it's worth, they made me realize, because for what it's worth, I do love video games. It's not just a matter of choice, but she asked me, was it the education system doing it, or was it my genuine love dying? And to be honest, it was a bit of both, because the hard working conditions meeting that crunch time for that college grade was also reflective on the actual industry. Now, speaking of stress, let me tell you something. So, I realized throughout this entire video, I say Terry, when I actually mean Tori, which is really funny because I hated this guy so much, I think I subconsciously just blocked out his name from being Terry, which is by far probably a worse name than Tori. But then again, that's a girl's name, and he was like a 6-foot-tall, African-American dude named Tori. Now look, for what it's worth, there are other celebrities named Tori as well, as a nickname. But they were hot.
Alright, so in this script, this section is literally labeled rant, so if you want to move along, you totally can, but this is going to be a long-ish rant. I don't even know. This is completely improv. This is not a skit. This is just me talking about what happened. I had emails from Professor Lau, who told me that my conversation with Terry affected my grades. I had a college professor friend basically write student affairs with the email attached. I had a screen grab of the email, and I had sent it to them, and unfortunately I don't have it anymore, that or the email, because, again, moved computers, the whole thing. They also got absorbed by another college because, well, let's face it, some of the educators, let's just say, were not even happy on, graduation day. But basically, I had an argument with Terry after a class where, we were on some downtime and stuff like that, so he came into Professor Lau's class, put some programs on a computer, bada boom, bada big, we were all there. I needed Group Game Project 2 to have a Unity version for cloud saves, for, the fact that we were working for 5 weeks in a row on this whole thing. Basically, it was just genuine. I can't even he just threw a piss fit. He literally just threw a piss fit in the middle of the class. Told everyone, well, why are you asking this of me in this class and stuff like that? Why are you doing it in her class? That's so rude, blah, 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 blah. So much so to a point where even Lau was like, dude, what? Just, okay, chill. Like, what are you doing? And everyone hated this guy. He was rude. He was obnoxious. No one liked him. And again, the only reason he was there was because he had tenure. I'm sorry. That is the only reason. But I went down to the basement with him. No diddy. But basically, after class, when we had talked, basically I had told him why I needed this version. How Unity works, or why it works a certain way. Because he was the music guy. He might not have known how Unity worked. But I asked him if he knew how Unity worked. And he said, yeah, I know Unity. And I was like, cool, great, so I don't need to explain it. And then eventually I ended up explaining it just because this guy was like, why do you need it? Why do you need this specific version? Why do you need me to do it? I don't know, could it be you're one of 2 people with a password to download and or update anything on this campus? That blew my mind. It blew my mind. I talked to him for an hour and a half, and eventually I just told him it would be better to talk to a brick wall at this point. Sorry for wasting both our times. And I walked away, and that apparently got back to Lau, and that then affected my grade for one of my classes. If I recall correctly, it was the character design class. I fought that in email, mind you.
And student affairs, they didn't do anything. Even after the fact, where I was like, dude, he is like giving me like high school girl glaring stares. And it is very uncomfortable that this 50-something-year-old Andre 3000 wannabe looking ass teacher is giving me high school girl stares. As an adult in college, or young adult, having this adult stare at me and like basically like give me these like I can't even explain it. It was just so uncomfortable as a student. And this happened for a while. And like by the time I complained, they were like, oh, well, you know, there's only like 4 weeks left of school. And I was like, no, take care of your problem. And they didn't. They didn't take care of the problem. They eventually took care of, I think, that grade. Actually, no, I'm sorry. It was the capstone grade because of everything that happened before in other parts of Lau's class. It was just so biased to a point where I had to appeal the grades so many times. And I just can't. I can't. With school, like, at this point, we should be judging people for going to school if they're not a doctor or a lawyer. Or even, like, business or something like that. I'm sorry. It's just one of those things where it's like, you don't need a degree to do things. Like, art, I should have just been practicing art, I should have been practicing code, I should have been practicing game design all throughout my early 20s. Now I'm 26, and I am just not in the games industry. I'm trying to make my way into the games industry through YouTube, but this is just terrible. I would not recommend going to college for game design at all. I would recommend bolstering your portfolio. I would recommend doing your actual artwork. Make your own animations. Make your own skits. That's what Devil Artemis is doing. That's what a lot of other people are doing. Because college is literally the biggest scam ever. And even then, if you go to be a doctor, you're still going to be thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars in debt until you sell enough certain medications or you have enough patients or you do whatever just to make that money back. And that's the problem with the education system. It's so much to get in America, mind you. Everywhere else it seems to be free. Alright, fine, sure. But basically here, forget about it. Don't go to school here. Like, if I could go to somewhere else, be a citizen there for like a year, and go get an education there to be a doctor, I would love to. I'm serious. I'll do, like, literally, if I could work from home doing YouTube videos or something like that, or if I could work from home from any job, or if I could work at a job in general because I'm on Section 8 housing on a fixed income, fine, I'll do it. And there's a lot of things I'd do if I had the ability, and unfortunately I can't because of all of the circumstances that I've put myself into and that have been indoctrinated into me. Mom told me to go to college. Mom told me to get an apartment outside of, the college because it would be too expensive. And you know what? I shouldn't, like, you gotta love and respect your parents, but sometimes even your parents don't know what the hell is right for you. Because, literally, my mom has an English degree, and she works for the federal government. How does that even correlate? I just couldn't even fathom, basically she's like, oh yeah, I used my degree for blah, 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 blah. I was like, no, you don't. No, you don't. You like, basically, my education should not have been paid for. In fact, I shouldn't have gone to school in the first place just because, at least this school, right? Bloomfield of Montclair State University, or Bloomfield College, because Montclair bought them, so I can't really blame them for that. But basically, yeah. And the whole time, even my classmates right now, all of my classmates, we're in a Discord channel right now, all of us are just working normal, like, one's at Amazon, one's doing freaking, I think, Starbucks, and I'm like, dude, like, this is not what we signed up for. Like, at this point, it's like, our degrees are about as useless as, like, honestly, almost as much as, like, I don't know, like, it's actually useful. Financial literacy is useful, architecture is useful, a business, I mean, you could build your own business, gender study, yeah, no, that might be the one. That's the nail in the coffin, because what are you going to study in that? I just, like, male, female, and then, like, the people who want to be something different in between, and then that's it. That's all you got. Like, there's your gender studies class in 5 seconds. I can't take it. I can't take how my college degree and how I spend so much time. I still owe them money, and I don't know how I'm going to start paying it back, but I just can't even begin. I can't. I'm sorry. Ugh. But the fact that the professors, or at least Lau, took it personal, my conversation happened with Terry outside of her class, after her class, when things like that happen. Just blew my mind. I was like, I thought professors were supposed to be unbiased with their grading. And it turns out there's a little section in their little rubrics where it's like, if the student is deemed, blah, 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 the professor has the ultimate discernation or whatever. I'm sorry, I am ranting so fast because this has aggravated me so long and I haven't been able to tell anyone. And now I'm telling it to a bunch of strangers on the internet. I hate it. I hate how it was like, not discrimination, but just basically her own personal discernment. When I had the best project and some of the best other art, compared to some of the other students. Some of the other students had great art. Some of them just did not because she wasn't teaching. She was the worst teacher. Genuinely the worst teacher. She didn't say, oh, this is how you can improve your art. She did give us like a bounce board to go off of. Like a lot of my sketches and a lot of my drawings were like my best work. I had zero guidance from her. And like when I say zero guidance, I mean the guidance of like, oh, you gotta fix that. Great, how? Like, at this point, like, the professors at this college, or just professors in general, because I had a lot of professors, and I only had like one or two that maybe genuinely cared about their work, where it was like, I realized something. I think, get this, psychiatrists care more about their mentally ill patients than anything else, and all they do is just push pills on people. I think the stripper cares more about her client at the club than college professors. I'm not even kidding at this point, because it doesn't make sense why there was that level of bias. And you know what? I really see that they were just there for a paycheck, and I have ranted so long that my computer's gone to sleep. I just cannot... There's a reason that this was unscripted. I've been holding this in ever since I got my stupid degree, because now I'm in a job that, they want a degree, but you don't know X, Y, and Z, so we want you to learn it passively outside of class time where you're teaching, and I'm like, no. Like, I don't want to. Like, I do it, a little bit begrudgingly, just because I can't find another job. I don't know where anyone else is, but in my current state, there are 2 million jobs that are non-existent, and you can try and blame this administration all you want. But here's the thing, when it comes to economics, is that if he cut funding for the excess of, things that they did, or that they weren't using, I've been put in programs where the bosses would talk about the CEO and how he's just doing golf, and that's where all the money went towards. Partnerships for people, if you want to know. But then there was also, other companies, there's a reason the funding's being cut, but instead of getting it back to the employees, the CEOs are still pocketing it. Which, again, is, I'm pretty sure, illegal, but once their companies go defunct, they're gonna have to start hiring people again, or basically just close the business altogether. I took maybe 1 or 2 economic classes. Everything else I've read was from economic books. I can't, and I've been reading too, a lot more. Rich Dad Poor Dad is a good 101 beginner book for economics. The Lords of Easy Money is a little more advanced, and there were some things that even I'm still struggling to understand. But basically, the college education system in America does not teach you the things you need for life. Hell, even high school didn't, or middle school, when you really think about it. They taught you math, and, some people use that still. Reading and writing, okay, some people still use that still, that's fine. History, that is a very important one, especially since history is always told by the victors. So, my view on history is a little skewed, because I realize that might be a little off. And then... science? I mean, I don't use science and chemistry a lot. I look up what chemicals do and stuff like that, but I don't use it in my day-to-day life. Just like I don't use math in my day-to-day life. Just like I don't use English in my day-to-day life. I mean, okay, I speak it, but that's not the point. I can't... The education system is so bad to a point where every millionaire I can think of didn't go to college. Every single successful individual I can think of right now didn't go to college. Bill Gates, for all of what he's doing right now. Steve Jobs didn't go to college either, last I checked, at least. No, I don't think he went to college. And it's just one of those things where it's why? I just... my head is spinning. Just from the amount of, bullcrap that I was fed in college. And just the amount of stuff that I could have learned within, like, honestly, like a week or two. And I had spent years in these classes, time, money, energy, and people helped pay for this. I got grants. I feel terrible that I have an education because it doesn't go to anything. My boss has an English... My current boss right now told me this. I kid you not. He told me, word for word, because we'll get into that job later, but he told me word for word that he spent 12 hours a week in his parents' basement learning certain programs so that he could work at this job. I'm not kidding. I have no reason to lie. This is my college experience. Right now, I don't even have 200 followers on the internet. I have no reason to lie to you. I don't have a reason to lie to anyone. I'm just sick and tired of this crap. I'm so sick and tired. And basically, he's like, yeah, you live on your own, but, like, you could totally do it. Like, no, I got an apartment to maintain. I got another job I'm going to in a bit because you can't give me the frickin' hours. Like, it just boggles my mind that school has led me into a path of complete and utter just self-destruction. YouTube is the only thing where I've felt free in, like, so long. Even when I was building a game, like, it just... just cool. Alright, I gotta go to my other job at this point if you couldn't tell that the black shirt's off, but, like, I needed to make this rant, and I needed to make it personal for everyone else to understand. If you're watching this video and you got to this point in this rant, I implore you, think about your degree, think about what you want to go for. If it is just general education, don't bother. If it's something important like a doctor or a lawyer, that's fine. Heck, even in some states, not all of them, but some states, they just let you pass the bar and then you can start your own lawyering business and then it's up to you to be a good lawyer. But at that point, like, just, ugh.
No, seriously, you couldn't even download anything from Google. So, for someone who can't code, who reset all of the computers, basically so that everyone could download an image off the internet, let alone one thing, one update, one whatever. Honestly, what's even more embarrassing? The fact that I can't code is that I found it in a goddamn YouTube video! Yeah, I opened up the command prompt and just typed in what the guy told me to type on the screen, and that was pretty much it. Don't worry though, I also wiped all their computers, all the programs and software basically, making them nice and clean for the next generation of kids. Because they were using so many different programs. After all, I wanted them to make sure that the next class got to use all of the right programs. I didn't cost them any money. I didn't buy a kill switch USB drive or anything like that, even though I could, because they were using technology from...
With all of the outdated technology and terrible teachers, I almost want to call the IRS for a possible money laundering scheme.
Don't worry though, poverty paid for it, as, again, my school for the most part was completely free. I have thousands of dollars in debt, but it's not as much as the average person, thankfully. Did I deserve it? I'm gonna be honest, I should have just been a doctor at this point. Listen, this man had so many issues on campus, basically every kid that knew him had an issue with him, and he would always give me complete and utter bitch stares. I got so uncomfortable, I went to student affairs, and guess what they did?
Nothing!
So basically, our conversation went as followed. After he completely threw a hissy fit in Professor Lau's class, he told me to meet with him after class in the school's basement. No Diddy stuff, I promise. And then basically proceeded to tell me and question me on why I needed this specific thing downloaded and why I couldn't use something else, and I explained to him over and over again why I needed a specific version of Unity, why I needed the cloud feature from that specific version, the fact that we were all using that specific version, and we were all using it from home, basically wasting our time in school doing absolutely nothing but sitting on our hands with our thumbs up our rear ends. He still, after an hour and a half of trying to discuss with him, I could not, for the life of me, get him to download it. I eventually told him I would rather talk to a brick wall.
So, yeah, the reason we need this program for Unity is so that we can all work on it not only in the class, but then we can finally actually bring what we did outside of the class, at home, into the classroom. So that's kind of just why we need that specific version. We're already working in it, and it would be more of a pain to just rewrite the code again from, my code guy, and, we all have different versions, but this is the one we kind of just chose for school. Can we do that? Great, thank you so much. Oh my gosh, this is such a time saver, and I should have just came to you, in the first place. You were one of the only 2 people in this building who had the password. I can't even download a picture on Google. You would not believe what a relief this is. Thank you.
Oh, right. I should explain a little more on how the college was completely absorbed. They were bought out because, let's face it, this guy didn't look like he was having any kind of fun leading a bunch of kids to pointless jobs. So another college decided to buy them out, and they went from this to this, which, in all honesty, didn't really change much.
I really wonder who gave them their creativity.
Okay, finally, during Capstone, though, she wanted some kind of pointless theme, and I think it was, I don't know, renewal?
Ask me who cared.
She told me putting the game on Steam wouldn't make sense. Yes, you heard me, my college teacher telling me to put my first game design game on Steam was not needed. That's right, my animation teacher told me this, not the game design teacher. She was all for it. At this point, I don't understand why. Like, I genuinely couldn't understand why. Industry programs like Unity, Unreal were not taught until this point, and I did everything outside just to try and literally learn everything about the industry, but college didn't give me that at all. There was no Unity, there was no Unreal, there was no nothing. Basically, anything I learned through these programs, the teachers did not help me and did absolutely nothing.
Foreshadowing. But I guess there is some good news to this. That game of mine was the most popular one at the booth, so much so that it was there until the end of the night as the last table to be taken out. But I will say this as well. The game design students who were there didn't even know I existed, solely based on the fact that they screwed up my scheduling so much. I was supposed to graduate the semester before, technically, but since they didn't have that, and also my schedule was messed up for other reasons, it just didn't make sense. So, the game design capstone and the animation capstone were my last two classes. How are these people responsible for my scheduling? I'm sorry, my academic advisor just didn't advise me to go to a different school, which honestly that would have been a safer option at this point. Or better yet, they should have just advised me to not go to school at all. I didn't, I gained nothing from college. I'm gonna be honest, what prepared me for the industry in college? Absolutely nothing. The only thing they told me is that work sucks, and then basically, that basically is what it is. They told us the industry sucks, and don't bother going in. That is basically actually what they told us. Oh.
What's even funnier is she had the image used for the capstone night and still gave the wrong title and somehow managed to screw that up.
It's even funnier because this professor's more illiterate than me. Basically, the title for this capstone thing was right here in front of her face, and she still managed to screw it up and not even, I can't even... Why was she teaching me? How was she teaching me? What was she on that she couldn't read this and figure out to put that as the title?
Oh, if you're a taxpayer, you should be insulted by this.
So I gloated as my animations and cutscenes play throughout the room, and, I was being a little bit hypnotical with my nonsense because everyone loved it. Everyone was playing it until the end of the night, too. I was literally the last table that was closed up for the night because people kept playing. Again, Dippy and Deets, thank you guys so much. I know you don't watch my videos because we're friends and it would probably bore the ever-living crap out of you, but I couldn't have done it without you. So, after I gloated to my animation professor that I was right to put my demo on Steam and, star launch that for the next 3 months afterwards, basically she held a grudge, so much so in that one class that, anyone with one of these could tell you that it was a great idea to put it on Steam. I genuinely don't know why her and the other professor weren't fired, because that was pretty substantial stuff. From the emails to the complete and utter little schoolgirl attitudes. Imagine getting side-eye from the same professor over and over again just because he was a little... Oh yeah, that's right, they were fired anyway because the school was completely absorbed by another. Huh, irony. This was left. I had a motion capture class, which was fine, I guess. It's not like I would ever touch that equipment again. But just to briefly talk about it, I guess. We just wore tight motion capture suits that didn't really do anything to our bodies other than give us complete wedgies. Honestly, it was a fun class. I just wish we could have done more. And in all honesty, it didn't really do much for me. I just was like, okay, cool. It's a class I have to do. That's it. It was fun. I genuinely would love to do motion capture again, but it's not like, again, I'm ever going to touch those $10,000 suits ever again. My game design capstone was great. The teacher was wonderful. And again, everyone loved her instead of the other one. And she understood that it was hard work for 1 or even 3 people to do. She was a bit shy and a bit timid and, didn't want to grind the stone at times, but overall, I loved her. She was great. For every reason, that was just the fact that she was a good professor. Sadly, the night of capstone, the demo was posted, and it wasn't the final game, but she said literally you get from point A to point B, and you did more than everyone else here, and yours is the second 3D game here, and it's way better than the other one. You're good. Don't worry about it. And again, I appreciate that. Lastly, Group Game Project 2, yeah, they screwed over my schedule, and they somehow let me graduate without taking Group Game Project 1. For some reason, I guess saying my previous classes somehow covered it, which honestly didn't make any sense.
Smells like a cover-up to me.
But we worked on some kind of game. Our professor wanted us to work on, oh god damn it. Yeah, these two professors really opened up with the whole pronoun thing. The one guy was like, really bro, he begrudgingly did it, and then shortly after telling us that they wouldn't be helping us work on industry standard programs like Unity or Unreal or anything in the games industry. Instead, we worked on, what the heck is this? Yep, sounds familiar. Just wait, it gets better. So, me and my 3 other classmates formed a team. We were the Penguins of Madagascar. Yep, that's right. We all had our own tributes. One was a sound guy, one did code, one was my right-hand man, and oh my gosh, that's right, that made me the lead game dev. Since I brought all these dudes together, they actually voted me in as the lead developer.
Why would they do that?
We made a comprehensive game for what we could, given the limited options. Thanks for that, Terry. But basically, we used anything but Construct just to see what we could do and actually learn and test the limits of what we were capable of. Turns out it wasn't a lot, but we tried because, again, we were limited and only had 10 of the 15 weeks, basically, because we didn't work on it in the allotted class time because someone decided to not put the password in.
We also had professors that were as useful as paper umbrellas.
These guys were underqualified to teach. Given everything we know, it just doesn't make sense as to, 1, why didn't we use any industry standard program? 2, why didn't you know any industry standard program? 3, why did you let a bunch of 20-something-year-olds who had no experience prior do all of this while offering them a game program that no one really uses in the industry just for your own selfish gratification?
Oh, there's that foreshadowing again.
Again, I wouldn't even have an internship if I didn't meet the CEO of the company I wanted to internship with at my local Wawa.
I'm always stepping in shit.
So, I got my internship, and I wouldn't have graduated without it. If the school system didn't actually mess up my schedule, this would have been a lot easier to do. But this was my first technically big boy job. Ask me how well it went.
Terrible. I've seen kindergartners with bigger jobs playing with Play-Doh.
As of right now, this job only gives me a handful of hours a week. As a junior instructor for over 2 years, they keep giving me raises, but get this. I got a 4% raise this holiday, and they only give 3% of it, giving the extra 1% in the form of quarterly bonuses.
In other words, get bent.
Yeah, no joke. I really don't get this. It's not like you give me enough hours to where that shouldn't matter too much. It's not like the 1% is going to equal like $300 in the course of the next year. I hate to tell you that. So yeah, I wasted all this time for a degree to get in any kind of industry experience. They wanted me to work for free at this company, learning Construct 3, and oh my gosh, come on! How low do I have to go here just to learn or be in the industry?
Going to college was a really good start.
So instead of focusing on my strengths, they'd rather focus on my weaknesses, which isn't really great because then it makes me more malleable for them, and it doesn't really help me get hours or put food in my goddamn fridge.
Also, why am I gonna work outside of company time to learn a program that they didn't tell me on the initial, even the internship, right? But then, also, when I do learn the program, the most they're gonna offer me is... I'm just gonna read this right here. This is from my boss. And I quote, "Hey, once you learn Construct 3, we can get you in one more class with blank. This way you could get some more hours." Now you may be asking yourself, one more class? That's, one class. That's not bad. That's 2 hours. At 16, 18 an hour. That's like slightly above minimum wage where I'm at. Like... What did this get me? I could just work more hours at a minimum wage job. Like it's useless.
So, this company is great for the students, but I spent 16 hours in 1 week trying to fix this one kid's 2013 MacBook and get it to work with Premiere, only for it not to work and still not get paid for it.
Bonus, we just used my computer instead, and now his projects have become Adobe bloatware on my computer.
Yeah, I was not paid for the time. Don't worry, this is common practice, like having a meeting at 8 o'clock at night, and then them telling you to have a healthy work-life balance.
And here I thought I was the only one telling jokes here.
I really want to stress that this company does do good things for special needs kids that they work with. The issue just boils down to management being about as good as the Snow White movie. No, not that one, the other one. So, what's the job market like? Well, I can gladly say I was proudly denied by Rockstar Games, the only AAA studio around me. Don't worry, I hang it on my wall in proudness that I got denied by one of the only AAA companies by my state.
That's what I get for applying on Indeed.
There was another indie company that I wanted to work for, but they wanted some amount of experience, and I had all but one thing. Can you guess the reason why I got denied?
I only have the one game under my belt. They wanted 2.
Yeah, they wanted 2 games under the old belts beforehand, and I sent them that this was just the reference game. Like, what was I supposed to do? Oh, right, show them this? To circle back to the company I currently work for that doesn't really give me many hours, so much so that I had to find a second job. First we have a junior instructor. That's right, that's me. I get supervised by another teacher who is supposed to basically just be a glorified babysitter, which, again, is fine, and they interject usually when needed. But I don't really need that. There was a sub the other day, as of writing the script, that was supposed to be there and supervise and do this other stuff. His mic was muted, his camera was off, he was not there, he didn't exist. He might have said 3 or 4 words to me beforehand, 3 or 4 words afterwards. That's it. He wasn't paying attention.
My bank account's still in the negative and I have thousands of dollars in debt.
Alright, second off, we get mid-range advanced students. Some students...
I just want to elaborate on this section a little more because I thought I did in the script, but basically, a lot of these students that are special needs, they really just want, like, the simplest basic thing, and they get the most enjoyment out of it. What this company really tries and pushes is, like, the creme de la creme, like, the students that, like, you know, can remember birthdays, you know, from people they met 10 years ago, or, you know, the ones that are, like, genuine, like, geniuses, but could not function in society like, you know, me or some other, you know, autistic individuals. I just wanted to elaborate that a little more because in this section I kind of, like, gave the Spark Notes version of it, and I felt like that needed to have a little more justice. I've been so aggravated writing this, solely based on the fact that it's like, I'm not asking for a lot. Like, I'm asking just for normal working hours. I'm asking for, like, a simple, like, 9 to 5, you work, like, 4 to 5 days a week, and that's it. Or, like, you know, like, something that's, like, within my limited, you know, my limited budget of what I'm allowed to work because I'm on a fixed income because the government sucks.
Are hyper-advanced, don't get me wrong, but that's a very rare case. Not every crayon eater like myself is Sheldon Cooper. So some students will actually make big games, and other students will just want virtual action figures, which isn't inherently a bad thing. You do the thing you're supposed to do with that student and what they want with that student. Third is the unpaid labor part. Oh my gosh, so basically they don't want to say the big part out loud, which is really funny because that's illegal. And again, my boss has always said the term, quote, passively learn construct 3, end quote, for a job that I'm technically qualified for because of this stupid piece of paper I own, right? But look, when it comes to learning things that I wouldn't have on my own, say for a game engine that no one uses,
See, I don't even know what I'm supposed to be mad at. The fact that I could have learned it more in college, but didn't want to because I wanted to learn actual industry standard programs, or the fact that now that I'm asked to learn it, basically for only 2 more hours of work, and then on top of that for something that's like slightly above minimum wage, for like a job that wants me to learn this for free when I already paid to learn other things. It boggles my mind. And then it also boggles my mind more where it's like they're being very passive aggressive with their phrasing on learning it, which is like, at this point, I see it as coercion to get me to leave, which is, I want to say also illegal. I'm not a lawyer, but that sounds off to me, right? Like, basically where it's like, Yeah, like, well, you learn it, and then passively, of course, but on your own time. We won't throw you in a class. This way it doesn't, disrupt the student. And then we also won't throw you in a class with another instructor. So it also doesn't disrupt the student so that, like, you'll have to just learn on your own because, like, people are paying for this. Yes, I paid for college and I didn't get anything out of it either. I hate to tell you, people are, like, it just... I don't know what I'm supposed to be mad at. I really don't know what I'm supposed to be mad at. I feel like I've been bent over so much by companies and school and this and that, and it's like, you know what? It's like, it's not from a lack of trying. It's that when I try one thing with college to get into the main industry, it didn't work. And then I turned out to not just be good enough for the industry anyway, because anything I learned in college didn't really help me for the industry. But then, now that I'm in a company that is like below the industry because of what I'm teaching, now it seems like it's also not enough because I should have learned the petty crap in college. So where is the line where I just find a different career path? Oh God, that's what YouTube's for. Dear Lord God, it's me again. Please just help me. Just help me. Just something. I don't even... What am I supposed to do? Like... Shit. There's a McDonald's down the street from me as well. It pays $18 an hour. There's an Aldi's near me, and Aldi's pays $18.50 an hour. There's so many places near me, and they're not... I've applied to all of them. There's nothing near me. And I hate it. Like all the jobs are filled out, anything on Indeed is just broken, and you don't get any callbacks. It is just bad. And that's fine. I'm okay with that. But it should be illegal to keep it up on Indeed or something like that. Heck, even a GameStop near me, they still have the listing up there, and it is just baffling to me that, it's still allowed to be kept up there. Wawa, for those of you who don't know either, it's like a glorified 7-Eleven that, like, divorced dads take their daughters to on a begrudging Sunday night when they, like, bring them back from the moms. It's just really, like, I'm sorry, it's just one of those things where it's like there's so many places around me that I've applied to just because I can't make it in this one job because they won't give me the hours. I haven't even gotten to the screwy part yet. I don't even think I added this in the video. This is a smaller rant, but basically, they wanted to go by whole company policy when it came to a junior instructor supervising a student, but they already let me supervise that student alone when the other instructor wasn't there, but then only for them to appeal it later because then the other substitute instructor that they brought did nothing anyway. So then they're like, oh, well, you could just teach alone now for the students that you have and have been teaching for a while now. And it just made me think, like, you know what, how does it go from company policy to just, like, per person? Again, I don't know. I hate the bureaucracy of companies. Like, either just tell me straight up, because here's the thing, I also read the handbook, and the handbook has nothing on junior instructors, because it's like we don't exist, because we're peasants there. So then I ask, and then it's like no one knows, because no one wrote it down, because no one knows. Or no one even wrote the rules. So I'm asking what the rules are to my supervisor. My supervisor's asking his supervisor for the rules, and then that supervisor doesn't know the rules. So then at that point, it really is just mismanagement of a company, and I'm starting to see why they are forcing people to go back to the office, because then you can directly ask that person. Versus me, where I shoot a text, he forgets like 5 minutes later, and then I ask him like 3 weeks later, and he's like, oh, by the way. Oh, and one more thing. Because we're supposed to do sub notes for a student, and we're working on a duck game. I replaced the U with an I, and my boss has not looked at that at all, and I asked him to look at my sub notes. I'm gonna be honest, he's also subbed to my YouTube channel, so if he doesn't see it by now, and not only that, it's like, I'm gonna be honest, it's a little bit of shit testing. But at the same time, it's like, it's not like I didn't tell him I did it, and it's not like I didn't ask him to look at it twice. But it's just how this company is run. If you don't have a brown enough nose, and you don't kiss enough ass, and you don't slave away for free, and I'm not that kind of person, I don't slave away for free. That's not me. That's not my thing. I don't do that. If you're not paying me, I ain't doing any work for you. I'm sorry. Like, the students, the me doing the thing for the students on the side, that's because I like the students, because that shouldn't affect the students, because, not having proper equipment or something like that. And it's one of those things where I'm genuinely trying, and yet I'm not pushing the boundary of I'm not getting paid. So the answer is no. But I'm also, like, trying to find other work where I'm like, okay, I can leave this job securely and then figure something else out in the meantime, because my dream's dead.
See, learning Unity code and Unreal code would have been more an acceptable thing to ask, but I can't code at all, so teaching me how to code is just, it's terrible. To circle back to that one student who has that 2013 MacBook, but basically Adobe stopped after version, I think, 24.0.0. Doing downloads over subscription services is a big debacle, but basically, yeah, that was the version they kind of cut off the download codes and went through a subscription service, which again, really genuinely sucks. I spent 16 hours trying to just get a free version of this on his computer just because nothing was compatible with his computer because Adobe made it so hard to do it backwards, and I didn't know DaVinci Resolve, so I was like, okay, let me just try to get Premiere on this thing. Listen, I got a ton more stories, and I'm at this point where I am just completely dumbfounded by everything the industry has done. When it came to work conditions, when it came to everything else, it just seems to be collapsing at an alarming rate. And with video game prices increases, I think we really are just going for the next video game crash very, very soon. If you're going to school for game design or anything like that, please just stick to YouTube. Please stick to anything that is free, and then get a certificate or something like that where you can use your experience in real-world situations. Do not go to college. I am so glad that at least at the very end, I didn't feel indoctrined so much into debt just because of everything else. I should have spent those years on YouTube University or something else. I hate how I was in the education system for something that I didn't really need. I really didn't need this. The reason I'm pushing my game to outsell more than Sonic Boom was not only to make my own company, but to kind of give some kind of accreditation to the fact that my degree might have actually been worth it.
Ask me if my parents are proud of me. They're not. Well, to go back to the main point here, I kind of realized that at least any game dev contracted out, basically any of them who are in the United States don't get like 9-to-5 jobs from big companies, whatever, it's hard to find work, and it's very stressful to maintain those quotas, maintain those deadlines, and I'm a person who doesn't work well under pressure. Like, all of these videos take, hours and time out of my life, sure, but I don't feel the pressure, at least right now, to make them. Yeah, they're hard, but it's like, I could take a break if I needed to, versus, like, if I have a deadline for something, it just sucks. And it's one of those things, that is a major conversation point, especially at the Game Awards this year. If you guys watch the Game Awards, they actually talked about this. It was a major point that game devs can't find work, or it's like, contracted out or something, and I had to deal with the realization that, my dream to work in the games industry, it died, and I could make myself as some better journalist or comedic, personality on the internet, on YouTube, and that to me hurts me the most because I wanted to be one of the people that they talked about. Sure, maybe I wouldn't be the next Grant Kirkhope or Mick Gordon or something like that. But, the gaming job that I have right now with this company that required a degree, that raise was from 1618 to like 1668. To teach special needs kids, usually people take, special needs courses and stuff like that, or, stuff like that. But, like, that's another thing, like, special ed, like, my friend, she teaches special needs kids, like, basic stuff, right? But she needed a special needs, degree or certificate or something like that for it. And basically, like, she doesn't work in the same job I do. She does something different outside, you know, the real world. It's just, you know, heck, even regular teachers are making a killing there. You know, some teachers there make 20 to 25 an hour. And it's really crazy because, you know, I could go out to, like, any other job really around here, like, if I can find one, because at least in my state right now, there was, like, a local news report that said, like, jobs are in the decline, you know, and make more. Like, I work at a pizza place now. Like, as of writing the script, I actually had to edit the fact that, like, basically, like, hey, I work somewhere else now, and I'm making a lot more money. In fact, I should leave this one company because, you know, I make more money, but I like games, and I like talking about games. I like teaching game design stuff, and for what it's worth, I am working on a game with one student that we, like, hopefully can put on Steam. You know, it's about rubber ducks, but, like, it's just so weird because I could get paid so much more elsewhere. And, again, it hurts me. It actually hurts me because I spent my entire life I spent my entire life wanting to make games for people and make them happy. That actually hurts to say. To be real for a minute, when I was younger, I had no friends, and I mean, I still have no friends really right now. They're all either A in other states or B, they just, you know, I'm a hard person to deal with, but I'm a very loyal person. But I had nothing but a Game Boy, and, you know, video games made me happy, and I wanted to share that love with other people. I remember playing Coding Kids Next Door, SpongeBob on the Game Boy, Mario Kart Super Circuit. Yeah, that was a weird one. I 100%ed that, by the way. And it's just, I wanted to spread that to everyone else. And I can't. And, it hurts. It actually hurts. Because I want to be able to live and sustain my life, but I can't doing this industry. Some people can because they just got, you know, natural talent. Some people are naturally really good at code, and some people are naturally good at one thing. Some people can do a lot of everything, but I can't be the modeler, texturer, ringer, animator, you know, coder. I can't do it all. Personally, I've tried. Listen, I can model, I can animate a little bit, and I can texture a little bit, like basic stuff. Or I can texture paint, but it's like, it's genuinely hard for me because I guess it's just how my brain works. Like, I can model, sure, but when it comes to unwrapping models and you know, ripping them apart, I can't do that. Code, it's like a whole new language, and I've taken Japanese. I'm looking at my Japanese binder right there. I know. I know learning another language is hard. But I literally could get paid so much more elsewhere, and it hurts.